Okay, good morning, Doug. Today I want to talk about Biden's first 100 days. Every president, when they comes into the office, they've got like really ambitious plans, but it seems like Biden has more ambitious plans than normal, even. And so, what I was hoping to do is just kind of run through some of those with you, and then just have you rate them for us. On the scale of government disaster. Rate them essentially A as dumb, B as dangerous, or C as evil, and then just kind of explain your thinking around it. Does that make sense?
Yes, and that's a very reasonable scale, actually. Uh, we don't even have to
Yeah,
deal with
I don't think we'll see anything good here.
no, nothing intelligent or benevolent. Well, I suppose it's these things may look benevolent, but you've got to steal money from some people to give it to some other people, so not really benevolent.
Exactly. Exactly. So let's start with the economy. One of his things Biden plans to do on his first day in office is he's going to continue the pause on student loan repayments.
Okay, there's supposed to be something on the order of $1.5 trillion of student loans out there, a pause on them. Well, he's not going to forgive them. That money is not owed directly to the government, is it? It's owed to various banks and other entities that have loaned money to the kids. Am I correct? I think I am.
Exactly. Yep.
So, okay, so those entities are expecting that money to come in from some source. So, what are they going to do? Is that going to compromise their balance sheets? It'll certainly compromise their income statements. And it's not forgiven, actually, it's just paused. So, stupid idea having student loans to start with, number one. And since they're there, it's stupid for people to be able to evade the consequences of their stupid actions. It's a bad precedent. So, okay, inevitable. He's going to do it. Great. We knew that. I wonder if it's going to discourage
Where would you
people
put it on
from,
the scale, though? Dumb, dangerous, or evil?
good God. Yeah, I think it's dumb, and I think it's dangerous. And is it evil? Evil. No, more dumb and dangerous. The debt's still there. It's been paused. Dumb and
Okay.
dangerous.
Okay.
Mostly dumb.
So, kind of falls in that same category. There's one that's in the same category as that, really. It's the extending the nationwide restriction on home evictions and foreclosures. The CDC basically put a moratorium on it several months ago. It's set to expire January 31st, but he's going to extend that so that there can't be evictions or foreclosures. What do you think about that? Where does that fall in in these categories?
Well, I understand there are about, I don't know because the actual hard data on everything is hard to come by. But my, my recollection is there are about 3 or 4 million mortgages and about 12 or 13 million rental contracts that have been put on hold. So, not forgiven, but so this is a huge liability, apparently, that's being built up on the part of the debtors and the renters. And once again, the landlords and the banks, their income statements and maybe their balance sheets are being substantially compromised. Because, for instance, have the local authorities put the real estate taxes due on these things also in abeyance? I don't think so. Certainly, maintenance on the
Can't imagine.
buildings in question has been deferred. So things are going to start looking shabby the longer this goes on. So, okay, definitely dumb, potentially dangerous. And is it evil to take somebody's income away from them? Mostly dumb, little bit dangerous, somewhat evil. Yeah. Yeah, who knows how long this will go on? Because as
Okay.
unemployment goes up, which I think it will, after this money filters through the economy, yeah, there's going to be more people who lose their jobs as the standard of living goes down. So, yeah, okay.
Yeah, one of the scariest things to me about the home evictions or the moratorium on it is that you have a lot of American wealth that's trapped there, that's trapped in this real estate. And I'm not thinking about the big, the big banks that own huge portions of real estate, but really like the small mom and pop, type homeowners who have acquired property over time, saved money, have, rent out their old house to somebody and, rely on that for the retirement income and really don't have the room to be able to go for, 6 months, a year without any money coming in. And I just think that these average, upper middle class families that, have scrimped and scrounged basically, that they can be wiped out so easily by this. And that's why, to me, it seems like it really does borderline evil because it's pushing those people over the edge, even if the intention might be, to help, to be benevolent, but it hurts, it destroys those people.
Yes, yes, it does. Yes, it does. And it's going to help to collapse the real estate market, too. Real estate is going to look like a much, much less secure investment when you realize that the government can do this, and it's probably going to be doing more.
Yep. Okay. The other thing relating to the economy is that Biden is going to push quickly for the passage of his $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief package, which he announced last week. So another $2 trillion for COVID relief. And of course, this doesn't include lots of other things that are on the agenda for new spending, but just the COVID relief bill. What do you think about that? Another $2 trillion added to the top. Does it make much of a difference at this point?
No, at this point, the numbers are becoming academic. Everything's becoming a rounding error. I mean, it makes what Everett Dirksen, the senator from Illinois, said back in the 50s, a billion here, a billion there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money. And of course, a billion is only 1/1000th of a trillion. So, okay, let's say it's $2 trillion. And let's say there's 200 million economically active people in the country. Actually, it's less than that because you cut out people under 18 who are in school and aren't working, and you cut out most people over 65 who are uh, retired. So, what's the working age population of the country? Probably something on the order of 150 million. And some of them are permanently disabled or whatever. So you do the arithmetic. I guess if they just passed out all that money, uh, the people that are supposedly harmed by all this, they should be getting close to $15,000 a person. But they're getting $1,400 per person. So there's a lot of pork going to corporations and God knows where. But I don't think the average American does arithmetic very well. So
No, well, and it's
anyway,
hard when they get so many zeros on it. A lot of calculators don't even go that high.
no, they don't. So it's ridiculous in principle because this is money that indirectly has been stolen from the country, and then the government gets to redirect to parts of the country that they like. So yeah, it's stupid and it's dumb and
Dangerous.
dangerous, yes, and it's definitely evil. Although they promote it as being good, and of course the fact that this is Orwellian. Everything today is Orwellian. Good is evil, right is wrong, truth is lies. It's just amazing. It gives you
War is peace.
war is peace. It gives you a sense of cognitive dissonance on absolutely everything. It makes you feel you're crazy. And I guess this is what they call gaslighting. Who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes?
Right. Exactly. In fact, a lot of the people in the comments on our videos say or the repeating comments that we hear is, watching you guys at least makes me understand that I haven't gone insane, that, there are rational people still in the world, and that I'm not just seeing this from my own perspective this way, and I haven't gone crazy.
Yeah, well, I'm of the opinion that in the real world, cause has effect and actions have consequences. So the only thing is sometimes the consequences are indirect and delayed, but they'll arrive, and usually with interest.
Right? What was Ayn Rand's famous quote about consequences? Something about
Uh,
you can
you can avoid
uh,
reality, but you can't avoid the consequences of reality. Is that what she said? Not quite.
something like that. Yeah, something like that. It's like that, but she's a smart
Yeah,
woman.
have to look that up.
Okay, so let's talk about some of his plans for the environment. Let's talk about some of Joe's plans for the environment. And some of these things are his day one plans, and
Day one.
apparently he's going to day one. He's going to rejoin the Paris Climate Agreement. He's going to enact an executive order to conserve 30% of America's lands and waters by 2030, and he's going to sign an executive order to formulate a plan to achieve 100% clean energy and net zero emissions by 2050.
Paris Peace Accord. Uh, Look, this is something under the auspices of the
A
UN,
climate
I'm
accord, yeah.
sure. Yeah, so it's got to be really really stupid. But I don't know what the terms of it were. I'm sure it amounts to giving the UN a lot of money to start with. But did you know the particulars of it?
I don't know the specifics. I know it was a huge document, but the big thing was that we were agreeing, along with a lot of other countries, to hitting certain emissions targets by a certain time frame, and also, I believe, developing the carbon market. So you could trade carbon credits. So it was a whole new regulatory regime, essentially, on American businesses.
Right. More regulations. That was one of the one of the good things about Trump, incidentally, is that he actually tried to cut a lot of regulations, but that's all going to go out the window. So American business is going to have to deal with all the old regulations soon, plus lots of new ones. So the depression is going to be worse for this reason. What was the next one?
It was conserving 30% of America's lands and waters by 2030.
Well, how much of the land area of the U.S. does the government already own? I thought they were already pretty close to 30%, because most of the land in
I
Alaska
thought
and
so too.
most of the western states, with the exception of Texas, is federally or state owned, isn't it?
It is, yes. Huge swaths of land out west are owned by the federal government.
Yeah, so that means it's unproductive land and basically unowned land. Uh, I guess it's there for the use of the government employees to get to roam around. And I don't know what's it doing there. Why stop at 30%?
Well, even a lot of yeah, exactly. Why not go? Yeah, we should probably increase it if it's good. But the thing is even it's supposedly public lands, but during the pandemic, there were a lot of areas of national parks and national forests that were actually shut off to citizens for use. I had some backcountry permits for some of the national forests over the summer, and these are backcountry, so you're around nobody, and they canceled the backcountry permits because of COVID. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, but in the meantime, they put out forest fires wherever and whenever they arrive, uh, while they're small, so that the tinder builds up. And when you do have a fire, it's a real conflagration. So actually, the U.S. government is responsible for the wholesale destruction. And when you have one of these once in 100-year fires. It's not just like an ordinary fire that allows for the quick regeneration of things. It burns things right down to the subground level with huge heat, and absolutely nothing survives. So I don't think they've changed that policy. I mean, the federal government manages property as well as they manage the post office or the DMV or anything else. So this is a disaster, and it's evil. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's jump on to immigration, because this is one of the biggest hot button issues, I think, for a lot of conservatives. And Biden is planning to have a path to citizenship for all illegal immigrants in the U.S. right now, apparently as of January 1st of this year. So if you were here, if you could demonstrate you were here before January 1st, then his plan is to offer I believe it's like 8-year path to citizenship for immigrants, for illegal immigrants. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, citizenship is coming to mean less and less in the U.S., in addition to the fact that it's an actual liability. Once you're a citizen, the U.S. government assumes the right to tax you for the rest of your life as if you lived in the U.S., even if you never even set foot in the U.S. again. So being a U.S. citizen is definitely a double-edged sword at best, but it's much like what happened with the Roman Empire. Over time, to start with, it was just people that were in and around the city of Rome, Latium, were citizens, and then it expanded until finally under Caracalla, when about the year 220, something like that, when the empire was already in rapid decline, visible decline, he made all residents of the empire citizens. And at that point, there was nothing special. So I guess it's going that way in the U.S. The problem is that, we've really turned into a multicultural, I've said this again and again, but the U.S. has turned into a multicultural domestic empire. And, all these people from completely alien cultures, different language, different habits, different religion, different everything. They hang out with each other, and look, even 100 years after Italians and the Irish and the Jews, big waves of those people in particular, came to the U.S., they still kind of hang out with each other. But it's going to be much more so the case when these other people, but they all kind of share the same religious and more or less ethnic background, because you can hardly tell one from another. But this is going to be different. So, further evidence that the U.S. is going to splinter and break up, if not de jure, certainly de facto. So a stupid idea and evil, because you're forcing integration, and force is bad anytime, and it just creates more hatred, not less hatred. Not good.
Okay. And another one in the immigration category is ending the so-called Muslim ban on travel, which in 2017 restricted travel and immigration to the U.S. from Syria, Iran, Iraq, Sudan, Libya, Somalia, Yemen, and a handful of other countries.
Yeah, well, look, because somebody comes from that country doesn't mean that he has bad intentions. So this is, as they say, problematical to start with. But just as problematical, a word which is becoming popular, because everything's becoming a problem, is a ban on Americans traveling. Is it Europeans traveling to the U.S. or Americans traveling to Europe and Brazil as well, and I don't know where else. So what is
Yeah.
this?
So
Lots of
yeah,
people
that's
are
a
encouraged to come
so
here. Other people are discouraged. And on what basis are they making all these stupid rules?
yeah. Well, I think the basis of the rules, it seems to me to be that the 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 rules are designed to eliminate the free flow of people, but to allow for the regulated flow of people. So, by making it so that we're not open to necessarily tourism from European countries, we will still, which we're not right now. I mean, we have had this not allowing Europeans to come to the U.S. I mean, Trump put it in place in March, but he was planning to remove it of course, at the end of after he's gone. So he's planning to remove something once he's gone. And then Biden said, no, we're not going to do that. Actually, it's going to stay in place. And in fact, his spokesperson said, we plan to strengthen public health measures around international travel in order to further mitigate the spread of COVID-19. So they plan to increase the controls over travel. But it seems to me they want to control that. They want to put restrictions essentially on that free flow of people, but certainly allow for resettlement of migrants and asylum seekers and other, politically preferable groups of people.
That's right. People that run counter to U.S. traditions and don't have any assets and are going to need to rely on the government. And what I've read is that there's now a caravan of about 7,000 people coming up from Honduras and Guatemala that apparently were stopped in Mexico because the Mexicans don't want thousands and thousands of people walking through their country illegally. But eventually, and of course, if those people in these caravans, and I'm sure there'll be many more in the future now that the gates are open, if those people don't like it in Central America, and I can understand why they wouldn't and they'd want to get the hell out of there, well, okay, you can go to Mexico. It's a different political environment. Okay, so you're away from the place you're being persecuted. But they don't want to stop in Mexico. They want to go to the U.S. because the U.S. has got a much better economy with more money and everything. So it's a scam. So what are they going to do when these people, if the Mexicans don't stop them, what are they going to do when they hit the U.S. border? I guess they'll be welcomed in, unlike Europeans that are actually taking planes into the U.S. I mean, it's ridiculous
Right.
and contradictory. It's insane.
I just hope they have. I just hope that they like everyone else who arrives after January 26th, they have a COVID test within 72 hours of entry, just to make sure we're controlling the virus. I hope they at least do that.
Well,
Can't
it
imagine they
cost
will.
me and my wife $150 a piece to get our COVID things so we could fly back to Uruguay. So these are expensive tests.
Yeah, and I'm sure that maybe they're like the BLM protesters though, where it's actually COVID doesn't affect it. So maybe this is one of those special cases.
That's true, and it's well known that the dangerous hours of COVID are from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., which is when curfews go on too. So that's when you have to be especially careful about COVID.
Right. Yeah, and in restaurants between the front door and the booth where you sit, also very dangerous in that space.
And once you're sitting down, it's a safe space. So, yeah, we're learning a lot of things about
Safe
COVID
space.
due to this.
Reminds me of vampires in some ways, or like the floor is lava game I used to play when I was a kid. Stuff like that. But we're learning science.
Yeah, you can make up all the. One of the serious consequences of this nonsense is it's actually going to destroy respect for science among the average American. He can see bullshit when he sees it. And when he sees so much of it, by supposed scientists and authorities, then you think that the whole structure is nonsense and unbelievable. Not good.
Yep. No, it's not good. It's not good. So let's talk about, while we're on the topic of COVID, let's talk more about Biden's plans for COVID. And especially, a lot of these things can't be done within the first days in office. So he's looking at the first 100 days in office. And the first thing he plans to do, his goal, is to oversee the administration or the administering of 100 million COVID-19 vaccinations in the first 100 days in office. What are your thoughts on that?
At a cost, did I see this? At a projected cost of $400 billion? I've seen that number a couple places.
$400 billion, yes.
Well, how the hell can you, even if you inoculate 200, how the hell can you spend that much money for vaccines and inoculating people? I mean, how do you spend $400 billion just to give everybody a stick in the arm? Which, incidentally, I think is, potentially, this is basically, an experimental vaccine, that there seems to be no indication that this vaccine that they're using either stops the spread of COVID or is safe. There's all kinds of arguments. We'll have to link to Simone Gold's hour lecture on this. She's an emergency room physician, and it's one of the best hours of that I've ever listened to, where somebody explains what's going on and why a lot of frontline doctors and nurses will not take this vaccine because they become apprised of the dangers. They're dangerous to all vaccines, greater or less, but this is definitely greater because it's been just jumped out with a different thing. RNA it's actually crazy.
I'll link to the video so people can see it.
Yeah, it's really disturbing. And one of the funny things about it is that they want to give preference to people of color, which and there are statistics that show that people of color are especially suspicious of this. It's like, since there haven't been human trials of this vaccine, hey, let's try it on a black guy. They're aware of this too, the Tuskegee experiments and so forth. So
Yep.
That's insane for all kinds of reasons. It's like if it was in the past, if it was really good and you had to ration it, we'll give it to the white people first, but you have to just try it out on the black people first. But if they're going to make or try to make, frontline people take it, if the stuff is dangerous and if it has permanent consequences and makes you sick, this is bad news. For it's just a mess. And how does the vaccine that's being used in the U.S., the Moderna vaccine, how does that differ from the vaccine the Chinese have come up with? They have one, and the Russians have come up with, and some other countries have come up with vaccines. Are they better? Are they worse? You don't get any data about this. No data at all.
Nope. There's no information.
No information. No information on anything. I mean, all you can get, as we were talking about yesterday, is just some opinions and conjectures from people that don't have much data themselves, ourselves included.
Right. Yep. But we're not giving out medical advice here. But I think that I was watching this. There's this fertility clinic that has an Instagram page, and they were publishing. They're responding to people's questions about whether and if you're trying to get pregnant, whether or not you should get the vaccine. And they were like, from the very beginning, absolutely. If you're pregnant, absolutely get it. If you're trying to get pregnant, absolutely get it. Like, it should be no worries at all. Like, It felt, these were doctors, okay? These are physicians talking. You know, they're wearing lab coats even, so you knew for sure they were legit.
Well, they
And
are
or no, they were
scrubs.
wearing scrubs
They're
actually.
cute.
They were wearing scrubs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're, but like no hesitation. We have no information on whether or not it might affect pregnancy. There isn't information. They weren't pregnant people were specifically excluded from the trials. There's no information on it. And so, but people so coming out and just saying, yeah, do it. Like, of course you should do it. Do the right thing. It doesn't even have anything. There doesn't have to be a basis in science for anything anymore. It's
Personally,
just like it's all political. It's good or bad.
exactly. I'm in a high risk group because of age, but I'm going to delay unless they absolutely force me to take the vaccine. And it might come to that. I'm going to delay it until the last minute. And being here in backward little Uruguay, which I'm probably stuck in for the indefinite future, but it's not hard duty. I'll probably be able to avoid the vaccine for a long time. But who can tell what the consequences of this are? It's not a novel coronavirus, but it is a novel vaccine with consequences that we don't know what they are.
Well, and the idea of maybe avoiding vaccination seems like it's a little bit going to get more difficult under the Biden administration because Biden, in order to hit his 100 million vaccinated goal in the first 100 days, he's going to mobilize FEMA and the National Guard and pharmacies to ramp up vaccine distribution. He's going to set up federal sites for mass distribution along with mobile vaccine centers for people in rural areas. And he's going to use the Defense Authorization Act to speed that all up. How would you categorize that in terms of our dumb, dangerous, or evil?
Definitely dumb, very dangerous, and very evil. And that's definitely a match that's going to light a fuse when if they actually try to force people to take the vaccine. And some will say no. How are you going to force these people? Are you going to put them in handcuffs and stick needles in them? I think that might be the final line for a lot of people. This and $400 billion to get the whole country to be vaccinated. I mean, this crazy senile old man with the evil ideologues that are pushing him along, he's going to tear the social fabric of the country in two. Or maybe it's 10.
It seems like that might be the point, the way things are growing.
It might be. It might be. Yes. This is all bad stuff.
Okay, one of the things it is all bad. It is all bad. But the crazy thing is the things that are actually that border the category of evil or in the evil category, because those there's not much upside but tremendous downside associated with, and I just don't understand why they're being pushed so hard, honestly, unless you're trying to cause harm.
Yes.
So let's see. One of the things is that they have this COVID-19. One of the priorities is this COVID-19 Racial and Ethnic Disparities Task Force, as proposed by Senator Harris, now VP-elect, soon to be president, I think, to provide recommendations and oversight on disparities in the public health and economic response.
God. These people are just out of control. I mean,
I'm starting to depress you now.
If Hitler had done this, everybody would be outraged. But because these morons are doing it, oh, it's fine. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. You got to ask yourself, where is it going to end?
And here's another. Well, let's actually try and answer that question in just a minute. But let me ask you. Let me run one more by you first. It's going to establish. Biden plans to establish a U.S. public health job corps to mobilize at least 100,000 Americans across the country with support from trusted local organizations and communities most at risk to actually perform, contact tracing and protecting at-risk populations.
Oh, I wonder if
So
that's going to be
100,000
related.
minders, essentially.
Yes, that's going to be related to the secret police, uh, a new agency that's going to be set up to keep an eye out for domestic terrorists. And if people don't go along with these programs, I'm sure their name's going to go on the naughty list to be monitored further. I'll bet you. So, because
Yeah,
that's
I
what
think
these
you're right. This is one of the scariest
yeah,
things to me among all these things was this.
yeah, this is really stupid and dangerous and ultra evil. I mean, what do you what are these 100,000 untrained, unskilled people rounded up from the unemployed? Okay, what are they going to do? Uh, I guess they're going to be a new SA or something like that. But it's not good making all these people
Yep.
government employees to do the bidding of, of really bad guys.
So where does all this end, Doug, in your mind? I know you asked that question rhetorically a lot, but one of our viewers yesterday asked you to try and answer that question. Like, where does it really all go? Where does it really end up?
It winds up in a dismal depression that's going to keep getting worse and worse, certainly over the next 4 years. I don't know what's going to happen with the next election, or even if there will be a next election, or maybe if we start a war with somebody like China, you know, perhaps it'll turn into a military dictatorship. So it's going to end up in a police state, a growing police state, and it's the end. It's the end of America. I mean, you can forget about the old America. They'll probably even take Leave It to Beaver off of the reruns of the television because they won't want to remind people of how mellow uh, America used to be. But it's going to wash away the remains of America and create quite possibly a civil war. So I'm just increasingly convinced this is the way it's going to pan out. Hate to be alarmist, but I don't see any
With the
way out.
police state, no, I don't think you're being alarmist about it. I think the problem with the police state part though doesn't seem like that applies only to the U.S. because at least crossing international borders seems like it's going to be all regulated and controlled. Like the free movement of people and capital seems to be coming to an end. Like that era where it was easy and cheap to move people and capital around the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you got the same kind of people in every country. And now they're all coming out of the woodwork because this is the environment that they like to see. It suits them. So, the average plebeian, you can see him over my shoulder here, painted into a corner. And as far as the rich people are concerned, that's a, that's a couple of ducks sitting on a pile of worthless dollars as they look at the sunset. The sun is in the form of a dollar, whether you can see it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much the way things are sorting out.
That seems like he was right.
Yeah, but where can you run?
Okay, well, on that happy note, I think we'll.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
But
know if there is a place to run and hide.
and tomorrow we'll see what in hell they have 30,000 soldiers in D.C. for.
That's right. It'll be interesting because tomorrow is the day when Biden will be inaugurated, and we'll find out. You know, my worry, as I've said before, is that there's going to be something that happens that allows them to alter this 100-day agenda to make it much more focused on security above even these immigration objectives and all these other things. That instead, it's the Patriot Act too, and it feels like that the Capitol event wasn't enough for them to be able to justify the police state that they may have planned. So there could be something else.
Could well be. I'm kind of glad to be watching it from a safe distance, but there is no safe distance. As the guy that seeing World War II coming and bought a plantation in the South Pacific to ride it out. When he found a beautiful place on Guadalcanal. You can just never tell.
You never can tell. All right. Well, we'll be back tomorrow. See what happens between now and then. Thanks, Doug.
Okay.